Today I'm going to talk about 7 Perfect Things by Catherine Ryan Hyde. Catherine Ryan Hyde is one of my favourite authors, and that's because she writes such incredibly heartwarming books. Now, if you think that literary fiction is boring, you're not reading the right literary fiction. You might just call this contemporary fiction. But if you think of literary fiction's definition as being something very beautifully written and moving and dealing with important themes, then this definitely fits the bill. I've read a lot of Catherine Ryan Hyde's books. In fact, all of the ones that are in Kindle Unlimited. And here's one you really don't want to miss. And there's a lot of people who think that way because she has 16,594 reviews on Amazon and a 4.5-star rating out of 5. So I'm not the only person who thinks this is a pretty good book. In fact, I think it's one of her best. So what's it about? We have Amy, a 13-year-old who's got an unhappy home life. Her mother's wonderful. Her father is a complete jerk and emotionally abusive and coercively controlling. Yeah. It's a theme that really does need to be talked about in our society, and Catherine Ryan Hyde does it really well. She puts it in this story as part of a story that's about getting out of that. It's about deciding that you want a life of happiness and joy and having the courage to go for it. Not easy, and she doesn't make it easy. The other central character is Elliot. He's an older man, he's lost his wife, and he's grieving, and he feels empty, and he wonders what the point of carrying on really is. The plot revolves around the 7 perfect things, which are 7 puppies. And it begins when Amy is walking along and she sees someone up on a bridge drop a sack into the river, and the sack is wriggling. Well, Amy happens to be a pretty good swimmer, so she dives into the river, grabs the sack, pulls it out, and inside are 7 perfect things. And honestly, the way Catherine describes these puppies is just incredibly adorable. But let me read you a little bit about Elliot and how he feels, just to show you the brilliant writing. Elliot sighed deeply and stepped inside, closing the door behind him. There, he thought. He'd done it, that nearly impossible thing. And that was the hardest part. People didn't realise it, but Elliot knew. The hardest part is not the moment when you have to call the ambulance. It's not even the part when you have to call the mortuary. Granted, those moments are hard and they're also utterly absorbing. They pull you through them, and all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other, and they send you into shock, and that shock cushions everything you might otherwise feel. No, the really tough bit is when you find yourself dropped on the other side and you have to find a way for your life to go forward from there. So, there we have it. That's what I mean about the wonderful and very insightful writing. So the plot is basically Amy wanting to keep these 7 puppies. And the antagonist, or the elements that play the role of the antagonist, are, well, first of all, the impossibility of keeping 7 puppies. I mean, 1 puppy, okay. 7? And of course, there's no way her father's going to let her keep these because her father's a jerk. So she takes these puppies and she hides them in this apparently abandoned cabin up in the woods. And then she has to look after them. Now, when she first gets them, the local shelter is closed, so she puts them there overnight. And then she takes them to the shelter, and the shelter actually acts as an antagonist because they're full. So if she leaves them there, they're going to be euthanized. So Amy can't do that. She takes this pile of puppies away and takes them back up to the cabin in the woods. And that's when Elliot turns up, because it's his cabin. He hasn't been there for years, but he decides that maybe he might feel better if he goes to the woods. And initially, he's another antagonist because suddenly Amy's like, oh, there's somebody here, I've got to move the puppies. So she moves the puppies, and that's another antagonist because where do you put these 7 puppies when you can't have them at home? And one of the puppies injures his foot. There's another antagonist. She doesn't have any money for the vet. Luckily, Elliot comes to rescue her because he's very taken with this young girl and her passion for these puppies and her desire to look after them. And of course, the puppies themselves. I mean, what is going to warm your heart more than a puppy or a kitten? And 7 puppies. There's a wonderful part of it when Amy lies down, has the puppies running all over her, and she says to Elliot, you should try this, it's just wonderful. And of course, you know, Elliot's really miserable, but he tries it. And of course, initially he doesn't want these puppies around either, but he tries it one day. He just lies down and the puppies crawl all over him, and it is a totally joyful experience. So Elliot comes on board with these 7 puppies. Great, but the next antagonist is Amy's dad, who once Elliot and Amy's mum start talking to each other, he gets jealous, so he packs up the family overnight, no warning, and takes them hundreds of miles away, where they're practically kept prisoner. Of course, she doesn't have the puppies anymore. Elliot's got the puppies. She doesn't know whether he's going to keep looking after them. So, you know, this all acts as an antagonist. It creates the conflict, the tension in the story that keeps you wanting to read on. So they've lost Elliot's address. They want to escape, but where are they going to go? Now, Elliot is kind of like a lifeline. He's hope. He's the potential, he's the possibility that they have somewhere else to go so they can leave. And that just makes you aware of all the women in these kinds of situations who don't have anywhere else to go. What do you do? So Elliot, by saying, you can come to my house, once he finds out what their living situation is, he's provided a lifeline for these people. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you where it goes from there. I just wanted to lay out the plot points, the things that create the dramatic tension and that keep you reading. I will just say that the end is very satisfying. Catherine has this ability to create really satisfying endings without them being mushy, happily ever after. They're always uplifting, but they're also realistic. A great book, and I really recommend that you read it. And if you're someone who loves animals, then you'll love all her books because she always has animals in them. It's definitely a 5-star book for me, and it is one of the books that really brought me a lot of joy. And so I would say it is very, very good for your mental health. So that's it from me for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. It really helps to get the video to a lot more people. And I'm really into supporting indie authors, and Catherine Ryan Hyde totally deserves our support. Thanks, Catherine, for another great book. Catch you later. Bye.